Hello, everyone. We are going to be starting our KoG climb. Those of you following the YouTube channel will know that we have had terrible luck with the Fire Dragon deck. And that is exactly what we are going to be trying to climb with today. We have changed up the list to be as close as possible to the winning tournament list that did recently appear. I do not own Buffered Slime, so we are running a single Triad Drago in its place. We have the Phoenix Dragons, Wing Dragons, and our Tribute Monsters as potential ways to trigger it. Alternatively, we could cut it, the 3 Curry Bots, and one other card to try fitting in a small Aqua Engine. And I'm not entirely sure which of those is the better option. And our opponent is on a rank up. So we are starting strong with Ruining Dreams. So, one of the big changes from the lists I have been using is the inclusion of Twin Edge Dragon over Piercing Samurai. Personally, I am still not 100% convinced that this is going to work out. There are plenty of monsters with 1100 to 15 or to 1400 defense. And of course, having to discard a card is a bit of a steeper cost than Samurai simply discarding. We will go ahead, buff up the Volcano, and save the Inferno for later. I don't see a reason to let them use Magical Stream to pop it. And unfortunately, we are running into the Legend Monster and a Doriado. Preventing us from clearing. So, my opponent has 2 light spellcasters, allowing the Volcano attack to be debuffed by 600. Buffing which is fine here, as they aren't able to bring out a Magician without getting rid of Valkyria. The Dorado goes into attack mode, but that is definitely a misplay, as Wing Dragon is strong enough to survive. Next up, we have our Shield and Sword, but does it even help us? 2 other monsters would gain 200, while another is in a similarly strong position. I could bring in the Twin Edge Dragon, buff it up to 1400, and then would be able to attack twice by discarding the Shield and Sword. Alternatively, I can have an 1800, keeping the Fire Guardians on board, and have all 3 monsters able to clear the Valkyria and the Witch. That seems useful to me because otherwise, if they were to play a Widespread Ruin, I wouldn't be able to clear the 2 very important monsters that I need to get rid of. So we are bringing in these 2 and buffing the Winged Dragon. Welcome, Drill. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, or evening. Definitely going to throw this down. They should be on Magical Stream rather than go Cyclone. So, no risk here. Battle phase, let's go. Swing into the strongest monster first. Looks like they do have something, but I'm not sure what it is. Perhaps it is a Curtain of Sparks. Oh, it's a Phantom Bind, which is just as devastating. our entire graveyard is filled to the brim with dragon monsters. It looks like Mystic Dealer, helping them find their bosses. They are down to Witch, so the odds of getting off the Magician Witch combo should be low. However, my Fire Guardians with only 400 defense are incredibly weak to an incoming shield and sword. Fortunately, it does seem that they don't have it. They set a couple of cards face down. 3 back row. Welcome, you say. If that's how that's pronounced. I'm actually not sure. Okay. So I could bring in the Volcano Attack Dragon to get a pop. But it does require getting rid of one of my Fire Guardians. I think the Tri-Drago is definitely going away. And obviously we do need to bring in Dragius. Next is Phoenix Dragon. And we can either choose to bring in Volcano Attack Dragon and search, and then add on the Winged Dragon, or we can grab the Destruction effect. It's a pretty low shot. So, would I rather just go for another Fire Guardian? I don't think so. We're gonna bring this in, summon out Winged Dragon, and we take the 1 and 3. Activate skill. Blasters, Inferno. Adding Dragon's Inferno. 1 and 3 shot, we hit the good old widespread ruin. And we do it. Now, as long as they don't buffered slime, we are in a really strong position. Clear out you. Swing in, and then unfortunately a Fanabind is going to stop the lethal. But it is only a copy of the barrier. Game 1 complete. If you're heading to bed, enjoy your sleep drill. I'm gonna send over a nice. And that is our first game. Of course we are down, in silver. We have not played any Rush Duel ranked since the rank reset. Welcome, Red Fire. And we open up with an Essel. But of course, we aren't actually going to be able to use the effect very well. Will milling help us? We could theoretically try to set up for a Phoenix Dragon or a Currybot. And we also aren't at risk of milling the Widespread Ruin. So I think this is a reasonable play. Let's go ahead and Essel. Nothing too crazy. Throw the other two face down. And the Fire Guardian is coming out in attack mode. We do have a Widespread Ruin to protect us from a lone Harpy Lady Sisters. So as long as they don't bring out 2 bosses, we should be okay. Or, of course, there is always the chance of a Ghost Cyclone or the Harpy Lady that is trap immune. But our opponent is actually on Thunders. They use Thunder Blast, and we are at risk of a huge Trigger Drago Pierce. Alongside the Piercing Samurai, things have suddenly started to look quite bad. Presumably, we are going to see the other two, but we see no tribute monster. They go in for the 1200 and clear the 2 low levels. A very aggressive play. Our move. We draw into a shield and sword. They do have 2 0 defense monsters on board, but we have a Fire Guardian, which makes that basically not matter at all. We can Talismanic Seal Array, but I don't know if we even want to. I'm gonna go ahead and keep the shield and sword in hand. This allows us to have a full board, as well as play around a boss monster piercing us on future turns. The Seal Array doesn't do a ton for us here, so we are simply going to battle. Winged Dragon, clearing out Piercing Samurai, and then I think the Blast Draws go in for the extra damage, and then pass it over. We see an Essel. Essel obviously isn't able to special summon, but they could be searching for a high-level monster to recur with Duckbill. They don't find one. They did manage to get a normal monster, but with already an Angler Coilfish on board, that doesn't matter too much. Of course, they can still go for a Stormbolt here, but it is indeed Trigger Drago. Having that extra card in hand, coming in handy. Once again, they are not going to be able to fully clear the board. And our Shield and Sword is looking like it might be very powerful. Oddly enough, they didn't even bother buffing the Trigger Drago, missing out on 300 damage. We don't have any high-level monsters in our hand, but we do have a Fire Guardian in the graveyard, alongside 2 Phoenix Dragon. Let's start by milling. And unfortunately, we don't hit another boss, which would have been quite nice. This time, we are going to Shield and Sword. Then Phoenix Dragon. And let's set up that Curry Bot. Into the graveyard. Grabbing Fire Guardian. Then Inferno, we'll destroy the face down card. Thunderspark wasn't anything too crazy. Fire Guardian is up next. Activating the skill. And we throw Phoenix Dragon number 2 face down. I think we have some monsters we would like to recur. So let's use our Seal Array. And bring back Phoenix Dragon, 1 Curry Bot, Speeder Performer, and a Winged Dragon. Unfortunately, I don't think we can set this because we are in a little bit too much danger. Battle phase. Swing in here. Not quite lethal, but we are very close. And it should be fairly difficult for them to make a push that deals 3,300. I have a card in hand, so no piercing on that Trigger Drago. And of course, we do have a full 3 monster board. So no direct attacks coming our way either. Unless they land a crazy tribute to the doomed. Alright, a Trigger Drago coming down. Might be going for a double boss board. But with a set card, that is not the case. They do indeed summon Thunder the Blunder and a Lightning Trigger to get in for additional damage. Trigger Drago, swing in for 2,200. as I said, not quite lethal. Unfortunately, we are going to be working with a 4-card hand. And we have plenty of tributes in the deck. So I was a little bit concerned about that. However, we drew, finally, our first copy of Volcano Attack Dragon. And that is going to be ending the game. They do have a mysterious card set on the board. But rather than Dragius, we summon Volcano Attack Dragon. And Blaster's Inferno allows us to grab Dragon's Inferno from the graveyard. We destroy the back row, and that is game. I'm going to go ahead and send over a nice. And I should probably clean out my replays. I do have some with Manarchist, which I need to keep, as I have not yet edited the video for it. Thank you for the follow, Macario. But we can delete the non-Manarchist replays. Try to find a few good Fire Dragon things along our run to King of Games. Alright, next opponent is a Yuga. The previous one we fought against was on Seven's Axel Road, but this one is using an archive skill. And we have drawn into the turn 1 Essel, or rather, the turn 2 Essel. We should be in a pretty good spot if we manage to find just about any boss monster off of the mills. Obviously, Dragius is the preferred one, but with only a single copy in the deck, it is significantly less likely. Alright, looks like they are on some kind of psychic deck. So hopefully we are able to just kind of walk over them. Volcano Attack on top of the deck, not what we were looking for. But even summoning a low-level monster is good enough here. Let's go ahead, bring in Kuribot as well. We are simply emptying the board. Fire Guardian also summoned. Now, we do have an option to not use the search effect, but there is always a chance that is the widespread, and we would feel really bad if we didn't get to do it. So let's go ahead, activate the Dragon's Inferno. Blow up Shield and Sword, also a card worth destroying every time. Swing in over Romike and Roller. And we clear out whatever their possible set card is. A Doriado. Welcome, Funny2542. Hope you are having a good morning, afternoon, or evening. And unfortunately, my opponent does find a Ghost Cyclone, destroying Talismanic Seal Array, and also drawing another card. Gargoyle, oh, they are on Roa Roman Advance. The Romike and Roller was a bit of a weird pick, but with the Palace Gargoyle, it now makes... Or, maybe not. I thought all the cards had to be... Fiends or Psychics, but they are on some kind of Psychic Heavy Metal Spellcaster deck. Obviously, the Talismanic Seal Array would have been really nice here, and we draw into another one to have it work out. Let's go ahead and start with Essel. We are looking for a Dragius Mill specifically. We don't hit it, but that is fine. Phoenix Dragon can come in next. Now, the Talismanic Seal Array is a 1600 push, but I have to discard something for the Volcano Attack Dragon. And I think the Seal Array makes the most sense. We will grab this, of course, and then just get in for as much damage as possible. Keeping the SL on the board, just in case somehow and some way that Shield and Sword comes back to haunt us. Enter battle, and we get in for around 3,000. Maybe a little bit less. Pass it over. Oh, and Red Fire is right. Roa Roman Advance is only on Roa and Roman. So it is a Legend Draw deck. But it is very much running similar cards with the spellcasters added in. And they have drawn a pretty strong looking board. Dark Sword Magician, Force Raider, and a Dark Sorcerer, all backed by what is potentially a Widespread Ruin, and we have used the Dragon's Inferno, leaving us with no option but to attack blindly into this board. And we are working with no resources of our own. Our first loss of the night might just be to this. And I want to keep the Speedy Performer, as we're going to need to do something weird in order to break through this board. So I want the buffer to use as tribute fodder. We have seen 2 Currybot and both Phoenix Dragon, but we do still have most of our boss monsters in the deck. We should have a Dragias, 2 more Fire Guardians, and another Volcano Attack Dragon. So that is 4 out of the 10 cards. Which is actually a little bit concerning, as it means we might brick. But we definitely go for the Widespread Ruin. This is going to give us as many resources as possible going into our next turn. So I think the best case scenario is we summon out Dragias alongside another low-level monster. But with not quite enough cards here, I am concerned. I mean, we can summon Dragias. But the thing is, with only 5 cards in deck, we can't actually even use Speedy Performer. So we are forced to go like this. Dragias. Normal summon. Mill. Fire Guardian. Now we do have another Talismanic Seal Array. No, we milled it. Activate the skill, and this will allow us to at least do something. We aren't going to be able to use Dragias' effect next turn if we set this card face down. So we might need to keep it in hand. But we know we have 2 more big monsters left. And our other cards are Shield and Sword as well. So we only have 2 low levels in our deck. Very high chance of bricking. But I don't think there is much we can do but go in. Setting the card, I think, is incorrect. They have the Widespread Ruin. We get in for what we can. But that is probably going to be game. Recital stops the attack. Oh, welcome, Ralph Leisure. Hope you are doing well. You have joined just in time to see me blow up. Torn the Windweaver. Even if I had set the sword and shield, it would not have helped me save Dragius, as it only works on attack position monsters. That being said, they might not have lethal, but they do. Heavy Metal is going to swing in for 5,000. Had they needed to tribute off, had they needed to use Tornado to clear, and had no other monsters, we would have survived with just enough to get in for another turn. Definitely an interesting deck. 2 Heavy Metals, 1 Dark Sword, 1 Dark Magician Girl, but no Dark Magician. And then a variety of what I think are structure deck cards, relatively free to play drops, and a few budget boxes. I agree with Reigns being one of the slower shows. I don't think, realistically, I don't think they need as many episodes in all of the arcs as they have. We are now up against Imatuskio. And we have opened no boss monsters, which puts us in a pretty bad start. They are apparently on Noodle. We do, of course, have Essel, but is this going to work? No. We mill Inferno and a Currybot, which does absolutely nothing for us. The face down monster is almost certainly Flame Cerberus. And with 1800 defense, Winged Dragon isn't able to clear it even with the Speedy Performer boost. I suppose we will set the Phoenix and simply try to swing into the others. Unfortunately, we are only able to clear a single monster, which leaves us in a pretty bad spot. But we will see how it goes. A Ting is coming out, but it is, of course, going to be Tribute summoned, or attributed off. Alright, setting 2 back row, activating Roastery, but not doing that before grabbing your other face down. I guess you get more damage in. And the Fire Yarrow is going to be able to clear because I am not running Draco the Tiny. We draw into widespread, but again, no real options here. We are just going to throw 3 more cards face down. And send it over. Now, we did have 4 monsters in the graveyard. We could have summoned a Speedy Performer alongside Twin Edge Dragon before using Talismanic Seal Array to debuff Spice. And after that, we would then be able to clear Fire Yarrow and Spice, assuming they had no back row. But that doesn't really seem worth it to me. I am not going to bother with the Widespread Ruin, as my opponent should be on no spell and trap removal. So I'm not worried about it. 2 Currybots, a Shield and Sword, and a Hankering to be blown up by an incoming widespread ruin. I think we are probably just passing again. I mean, no, let's force out the back row. Currybot, add Currybot. Then Fire Guardian. 2 set monsters. Blastus Inferno activated. And, no need to use the Seal Array. Let's just battle and see what happens. I'm expecting widespread. Notably, Sword and Shield doesn't actually stop us. Widespread Ruin does come out. All part of the plan. Spice is buffing up their monsters. And of course, the Duel Reboot is going to save the Spice. Oh, no, it's not. They actually choose correctly. And let the Spice get eaten by the Widespread Ruin. And now my Shield and Sword does basically nothing. We do have access to another Currybot here. And the extra card should be helpful. Shield and Sword doesn't provide lethal. So we aren't going to use it. Activate Currybot. Bring in Essel. Tribute. Well, have we seen Phoenix? We've seen 1. So I don't think we need to mill. Actually, we should because we're going to use Talismanic Seal Array. And this helps us set it up. Okay. Volcano Attack Dragon. Then, Twin Edge. Fire Guardian. And we need to boost the Fire Guardian, which means no destroying those back row. Unfortunately. But we do Talismanic Seal Array. Cards that are going to add back. 1 Currybot, Phoenix Dragon, and probably the buff cards are going to be my picks. Now, I think if they do run a Shield and Sword, we should still be okay. Throw down Currybot and let's battle. Swing into this one. And we're going to start off, well, actually, yeah. We'll be at enough. Even if they use a Shield and Sword here. Or a Sword and Shield. But it is only a copy of the Barrier. And if they are revealing a copy of the Barrier right now, that is definitely enough to scare me out of swing into the second one. As I would lose the combat and then subsequently lose the game. Inferno is relate Dragius aggro. It even breaks the same way as Hammer Crush Deal. More or less. When is Dennis at the gate? Currently. The event is ongoing. Alright, we see a Flame Champion. But fortunately, it does not look like this is a lethal push. Or is it? No, only 2,000 damage. So we hang on for one more turn. But we are going to need to finish the game or die. And it is looking pretty difficult to do so. We have a ton of speedy performers. But even with buffing twice, I don't think that's going to get us there. Shield and Sword, so I get in for 2,000. I mean, that's only 700. I am not really seeing the line here. We need, like, Dragius. So we set. And wait one more turn. We are going to go ahead and grab the Inferno while we can, though, as destroying a potential new trap card is worth it. It's only a Cyclone. Unfortunate. Now the question is whether or not we get rid of the Fire Guardian. But I like having another potential boss monster to use with our Dragius. Have we drawn another... But we still have the other Volcano Attack Dragon in deck as well. So I think we do need to go ahead and tribute set. And then we pass. So we'd lose to an extra spice coming down, as it's able to burn for 1,000. Our goal is basically for them to summon a regular spice, the Elite Noodle Ninja, and then have multiple 0 defense monsters on board, allowing us to win with a sword and shield. Whether or not it will actually work out is yet to be seen, though it is pretty unlikely. We see a second summon, 2 spice. And with a board like this, I'm now a little bit more confident. They did not use any copies of Pierce. And that means we are in a prime position to end this game. There is a Volcano Attack Dragon. First, shield and sword. Let's flip over Fire Guardian. Speedy Performer. Buff here. Phoenix Dragon. Tribute Summon. And then another Phoenix Dragon. Activate the effect and grab a Fire Guardian. Normal summon. Boost. And obviously we do still lose to a sword and shield, but it is the best we can do. We know they have a trap card, and it's a copy of the barrier. I may have needed to boost the Volcano Attack Dragon. They are down to 23, and it is an exact lethal. We are safe. Oh, thank you for the game. Funny. That was an incredibly close one. Are you running any extra spice? Because I was very, very afraid of that 1,000 burn. Holding onto the shield and sword for so long was definitely a game-winning decision for me. But it was incredibly close. Thank you for the game. I think your deck looks pretty good. I do think the Flame Champion is probably a little bit underpowered, but if you don't own extra spice, it is a reasonable substitute, just so you have extra tributes in the deck. And it was a very scary match, almost that entire time. Alright, so we did open with a Volcano Attack Dragon, but our opponent is probably just going to set 3 monsters and pass. So it doesn't do very much for us. Alright, they even throw down a back row. Our move, and we draw nothing too crazy. I think we do Speedy Performers, and we will buff up the Winged Dragon so it doesn't run into anything wacky. We mill a Fire Guardian, sure. And an Essel. Essel is one of those cards we really would have liked to have in our hand over the Speedy Performer. Though I suppose it would not have done much here. Blaster's Inferno is fine. Let's go ahead and blow this up just in case they drew the turn 1 widespread. Now, I do want to note, this is potentially a misplay, but it works out this time. Most people, of course, are running way more than 2 spell and trap cards in their deck. And that means the odds of hitting widespread ruin are under 50% most of the time. We did see a Tri-Drago and a Sports Dragon Slugger in the graveyard. 2 different ways to generate advantage. Clearing them out was quite useful. Unfortunately for us, they have a Dragonic Slayer. And I do think Resonance is more or less a better version of this deck. Obviously, they have a bit of a weakness to Shield and Sword. But the Slayer is so much better than Volcano Attack Dragon, as it's able to use that Spell and Trap Destruction effect every single time it hits the board, rather than just once per duel. Thank you, Ferrycito, for the follow. Alright, our board is empty, and we have nothing to do here. Obviously we set up the Curry Bot, and I think we keep the Seal Array. We will go ahead and pass it over. They are summoning out the one and only Multi-Attack Dragon Dragias. And of course, if they pair that with a Twin Edge Dragon, we'd be in dire docks. However, it looks like these might be the only 2 monsters they are summoning this turn. And that goes from a 2800 direct attack swing to no damage at all. What could all of those back row be? We've already seen a Widespread Ruin. So it must be cards such as the Talismanic Seal Array. We draw into a Tri-Drago, and our Curry Bot is set up. So I think we do go for it. Let's go ahead, bring out another one of our little guys. And we are going to bring in 2 Fire Guardians. My opponent, of course, does own a level 7 monster on board, so I could use the Tri-Drago's effect. However, that is incredibly reckless, as leaving a 300 attack point monster on the board is almost never going to be the right play. We are buffing a Fire Guardian and then dropping the Seal Array. What do we return? One of the Curry Bots for sure. And then we have 2 Phoenix Dragons left. So we do want at least one of the volcanoes in the graveyard. And then we simply pick the buffing monster. Dragias is the bigger threat. So let's go for him. Enter the battle phase. Now, the only one I'm able to clear with the buffed Fire Guardian is Slayer. But they might have a Music Princess's Recital. So if I needed to clear the Dragias, I should have targeted Dragias first. Most likely. However, we are now very concerned as we saw no trap cards. And with Shield and Sword, this is probably game. We do not have any form of protection, and all they need are a couple of big monsters to swing over these Fire Guardians. It says, lost the extra spice every turn, and then finished with the burn as well. Yeah, I do think the extra spice is a lot better than a ton of people are giving it credit for. So my opponent is bringing out a Tri-Drago, but they aren't able to swing with it. Actually, it is totally fine. They aren't able to get the extra card, but thanks to the effect of Multi-Attack Dragon Dragias, this is what we like to call lethal damage. Unfortunately, the winged dragon has a guaranteed clear against anything I could have possibly set, and Triad Drago takes me out. I'll go ahead and send my opponent a nice. That was a pretty reasonable game. So even though it was a loss, I think it's something I would include if I were to make another Fire Dragon video for the Redemption arc. Next up is a Roa. So, after the nerf to Hell Tuning Invasion, a ton of players had been writing off Royal Rebels entirely. However, Death Doom Requiem is a skill that is able to stand on its own and has even taken down multiple tournament events. Let's go ahead and see what they open with. They are using an Essel, and they are providing us with an invasion. Very, very kind. They set down the Widespread Ruin Immunity Field spell and a Mysterious Trap. We draw a Phoenix Dragon. So, Essel milling 2 different bosses is obviously optimal here, but we do not get so lucky. Instead, we will have to deal, or cope with grabbing Invasion. And then they are Death Doom Requiem. So I am a little bit concerned about the board wipe. So do we just set the Triad Drago? Or do we swing in with the Twin Edge? I'm going to go with the aggressive option. Obviously, this is going to be quite bad for us. Should they have Widespread Ruin? But let's enter battle and see what happens. Crash the Essel, and swing in twice with Twin Edge. Obviously, we need to crash the Essel rather than use the Twin Edge if we are trying to get in for maximum damage. But we are now weaker to a Shield and Sword. Death Doom Requiem, of course, if it fully resolves, is going to wipe my board anyway, and get in for a ton of damage here. So the other option was to set the Triad Drago, play things a little bit slower. Royal Rebels Arena, going face up, and Doom Metal, inflicting 1,000 burn alongside a full suite of free attacks. Kobold, discarding Phaser, looking for another monster to swing in with, and they get 4,500 damage. Definitely should have set that Triad Drago. But now we have drawn into the one and only multi-strike Dragon Dragius, allowing us a chance to come back. Maybe. We need to use the Speed Reformers here, as they are both getting tributed off for Dragius. Notably, a 2100 battling a 2500 is just good enough to survive with 100 life points should they try to swing in next turn. Let's go ahead, use Blaster's Inferno. We buff up and enter battle. Swing in for 1500 and 1500 more. And that leaves them with a 1000 life perfect lethal blow. I forgot to send them a nice, but we get there thanks to the power of the one and only Dragius. In that game, this deck ended up playing very similarly to a Servant of Dawn build. However, our win was largely thanks to the power of Essel, reviving our opponent's invasion that they gave to us so freely. And Servant of Dawn is not able to run Essel because all of the monsters that are level 4 are required to have 1200 defense. And we are up against another Royal Rebel, but they have played down no cards. Obviously, we are going to take this as a sign to go in as hard as we can. Summon out, Fire Guardian here. And we can't use the Speedy Performer, but we do have 5100 damage on board. Blast's Inferno brings us even closer to a wipe. However, this could be bait if our opponent already has the full combo ready. They can wipe the board, inflict 1500 damage, swing in for 25. That is 4000. But they are in battle phase, so we are going to be ranking up one more time. Swing in, and that is it. I'll go ahead and send them a nice. Up into gold. Now, I will say those Triad-Dragos being buffered slimes probably would have been pretty useful in most of our games. Definitely a big change that would immediately make the deck significantly better. Now, if I saw that icon correctly, our opponent has a silver Goha Rush Festival icon, meaning they did finish in the top 100 of one of the events. We have drawn into an Essel, but they might have the turn 1 widespread, so no rest yet. Obviously hoping for a Dragias, but we will take a second Fire Guardian just as well. Bring in Speedy Performer and use it to buff the Essel. Then we trade off for a second Fire Guardian. Activate the skill. Just because there's no real reason not to. And then as long as we don't hit a 1400 defender with Essel, we should be okay. 1000 is totally fine with me. Now the issue with this is that they don't have a trap card. And a Shield and Sword is pretty devastating, as always. My Fire Guardians are sitting here as 400 defense liabilities, while Servant of Dawn would have the 1800 defense Cerberus. Speed Performer boosting Alligator up to 2900. And obviously my two Fire Guardians are going down. Though whether or not that is the right play is up for debate. The Essel represents a full 1100 extra damage, and being aggressive is usually not a bad idea. We can't use Triad-Drago in this matchup, as our opponent will never summon a level 7 or higher monster. So it is definitely going into the graveyard right away. But the question is, are we bringing out the Speedy Performer to tribute as well? Doing so would let us boost up the Essel. But if we want to clear the board, we actually need to boost Dragias in order to get above 2500. So while it is a little bit awkward, I think we are going like this. Dragias on board. activate the effect, and Speedy Performer, then buffs it next. And unfortunately, we do mill the Widespread Ruin. With that out of the way, we might want to start setting up for our other Phoenix Dragon. We have yet to find a Volcano Attack Dragon. And we do want to get monsters in the graveyard so we can shuffle back good cards with a Talismanic Seal Array. If they have a trap card to stop this attack, we are in danger. But I don't think they had anything last turn. So I wasn't expecting anything this time either. Let's go ahead, swing in for what we can. And even though we are ending on a Speedy Performer with only 400 attack points, we are in a better position against potential Shield and Swords here. All of our monsters have at least 1,000 defense. Hercules Sisters, 2,600 or 3,100. Not a huge deal. They really need another big monster to make this threatening. More back row is fine, but theoretically we can find a Volcano Attack Dragon and start clearing things out with Dragon's Inferno. Let's see what we get. There is, exactly as planned, Volcano Attack Dragon. And of course they have summoned a monster with 0 defense, so Shield and Sword is going to be probably a game-losing card for them. Speed Performer, mill, and buff the Twin Edge. Then summon out Volcano Attack Dragon. We actually aren't done quite yet though. A Widespread Ruin or a Shield and Sword could be pretty threatening. Let's Dragon's Inferno and see what we find. We know the card in the middle is a spell. Okay, so they can only possibly have 1 trap. So we should be able to finish the game this turn. Twin Edge Dragon, activate the effect, and that'll do it. Even if they had a Shield and Sword, Volcano Attack Dragon was big enough to clear it. And if it was Widespread Ruin, we had enough attacks to finish the game that way as well. Gold rank 1, we are quite far away from King of Games. But we have been on a much better win-loss ratio than I was with previous builds of this deck. Another player on Roman. I actually don't know if it's the same player as last time, but it is a 40 card deck. I don't know what they are playing, but if they are on 40 cards, theoretically we should be at an advantage. Now, of course, it doesn't always work out that way. A Widespread Ruin, an unlucky Hysteric Force Flip, or a big Psychic board can always risk an OTK. But we will go ahead and see what we can do. Hopefully we draw Shield and Sword, get a quick little win with the 0 defense monsters. Berry Bassist. Another 0 defense card. They are on an archive skill though. So despite playing Psychics, they are using maybe something like the Blue Medicine card, or Roa Roman. Alright, they clear out 2 of our defense position monsters, but leave our best one, Speedy Performer. And just as requested, we have drawn into the all-powerful Shield and Sword. I think we do drop it now. Bring in Twin Edge Dragon. Wing Dragon, Guardian of the Fortress. Buff the Twin Edge. Summon out Volcano Attack for sure. Both of those monsters are at 0. so we do not need the Talismanic Seal Ray. Then, with Blaster's Inferno, we buff Volcano Attack Dragon. Add Dragon's Inferno to hand. Activate the spell, destroy the only back row they have found. And then we swing in for near lethal damage. Battle phase, swing 1, swing 2, and swing 3. We needed just 300 more. But that should be pretty easy to find. As a heads up, after this game, I am going to take a short break to go get some water. But they aren't even able to use the Roman pick, as they don't have the 500 life points to pay. I'm expecting them to have made a misplay there. But they do have the ability to tribute summon out a heavy metal, who is unable to use the effect. It is indeed Roa Roman Advance. Heavy metal is able to swing into Twin Edge Dragon, but with Talismanic Seal Ray, heavy metal goes down to just 900 or 700. And then the game ends. Phoenix Dragon for sure. Activate the effect. Discard the trap. Grab Volcano Attack Dragon. Activate Seal Ray. Shuffle back in our best cards. Debuff. Wing Dragon comes in. Volcano Attack Dragon comes in as well. Tribute a card for Fire Guardian. Go here, activate the effect, buff you. Blaster's Inferno, and finish this game. Swing in with Volcano Attack Dragon, and that is a good, clean victory over Psychics. So, I'm gonna be back in just a minute. Use this time to get some water, etc. And we are back. Ready to go into a potential gold to rank up game. The Dentist Starter deck has a free glossy Trapeze Magician. That is nice. I feel like they've barely ever actually give it the boss monsters in the extra deck anymore. Instead of putting it in the box. That's actually really surprising to me. So what are the cards that are boxed? Trick Clown and Damage Juggler. I guess that makes some sense. Okay, so we get an Essel. And we also have a Speedy Performer, so we can try to buff up a little bit before using the Essel. Dragon's Inferno, pull up a back row. Then Speedy Performer gets in 1 mil by boosting the Essel. This is fine. And we mill a Volcano Attack Dragon. That is perfect. Multi-Strike Dragon Dragius coming down. I don't think there are any other cards that we would possibly want to mill and summon over that card. But we are going to sequence it correctly anyway. Volcano Attack Dragon coming on board. Blastoise Inferno, grab you. Add a card, and Dragon's Inferno number 2. Clearing out the opponent's set card. And we have learned they are on Harpy. Let's enter battle, and since they could have a 1400 defender, we are going to swing in with the Essel directly. They go ahead and concede. And that is a great showcase of the deck's high roll potential. We will be saving that. Let's go ahead and keep up the climb. We've had a great start to the night. I think we might have lost 2 games. And we are up first. They are on Roa, but are using an archive skill, which is a little bit interesting. Rebels are definitely strong enough to stand on their own. We don't know what they are running, but we are definitely going to be setting all 5 of these cards face down. Unfortunately, they do drop into a Ghost Cyclone and remove our trap. Before revealing it is just some form of beast aggro. It is almost certainly going to be Servant of Dawn featuring dinosaurs. They boost up and are swinging in for a clean 2100. Unfortunately, we opened 3 of our Spell and Trap cards turn number 1. And it left us unable to properly defend. We have drawn Shield and Sword, but it's not really strong here. But I guess it is... Well, I guess we could discard with the Twin-Edged Dragon, but then it wouldn't even be able to clear anything at all. But if we set up for a... we don't even have enough monsters to use its effect. So we need to summon the Curry Bot, obviously. And we need to Fire Guardian. Wait, but if we're Fire Guarding, we're gonna Fire Guardian. And then we would have 3 monsters in grave. Twin-Edged Dragon is unable to boost. We can't Talismanic Seal Array. And we need to clear out something. This is really awkward. Let's I guess let's use it. Just to get the card out of our hand. Fire Guardian, tribute off you. And then set Widespread and destroy whatever card they have face down. We do not want to get blown out by anything. Activate the skill. We boost up, and then we can go in for big damage, or we can choose to play it safe with a Widespread Ruin. Or by clearing the Flame Cerberus. However, I am going to go in for the aggressive damage here. Okay. They bring in a Vorse Raider. Interesting, they don't own the Archfiend Soldier. They boost up the Gazelle to 2100, but that is fine with me. They are crashing in, of course. And then we can clear out Flame Cerberus. We take no damage this turn. And they are left with a lone Vorse Raider on the board, which we are going to massively debuff with a Talismanic Seal Ray. We have a Phoenix Dragon as well. Which we can use to get into even more monsters. Phoenix Dragon. Activate effect. Discard here. Add Fire Guardian. Normal Twin Edge. Tribute Summon. Skill. Add back Dragon's Inferno, and we're going to pop a face down. We get a Ghost Cyclone, a little bit unfortunate for us for sure. But we are still going in as much as we can. Seal Array, activate, and we will shuffle in the Phoenix Dragon, Essel, and these. Force Fader loses 1200. Then we battle, and I think the guard is a little bit more popular than Recital, so we're swinging in with this first. 2300 leaves them with just 200 life remaining. Unfortunately, they have a shield and sword of their own here. Pakachu provides them with a 6th card. And it is possible to lethal me with a 2-boss board. A Mega Zowler. Plus King Rex, and then just a strong guy should be enough. Is this enough, though? With a Talismanic Seal Array, that is probably going to be it. They have 2, 3, 4, 4,900. So my monsters need to have a sum of 1,100 attack points. But they only have 8. And that doesn't even take into account the 600 from Servant of Dawn. Fortunately, we did rank up right before this. So, Sora, we are in Gold 2. And I think this is our second or maybe our third loss of the night. I have definitely had smoother climbs with other decks. But I am totally fine to keep on going with this for now. Gotta give it a chance to make its redemption. And we are up first. Probably a good thing normally. Though the Essel here is a bit of a bait. We definitely do not want to be bricking. So let's bring in the Fire Guardian just to make them have a boss. Basically the line here is that our biggest punish is probably only like 800, 900 damage. And if they didn't have any high level monsters, they were going to clear a set 3 board, but there was a chance they couldn't clear a Fire Guardian. But Torn of the Windweaver is allowing this to be a bigger push than I was planning on. Or maybe it's not, as they set 3 different cards face down. We have kept plenty of resources around for later. And we are going to mill with the Esso to help set up this Talismanic Seal Array, as well as a potential Phoenix Dragon in the future. Let's bring in Fire Guardian. And we'll buff it up with Speedy Performer. Just slowly filling that grave. Volcano Attack Dragon coming in next. And, of course, we will use Winged Dragon as well. The Talismanic Seal Array is an interesting choice. Obviously, there is a pretty good chance of a buffered slime. And we are safe even from a Widespread Ruin plus a Shield and Sword type thing. So let's go ahead and just battle and swing in with the Volcano Attack Dragon. Somehow, they don't activate anything. But now they can. So I suspect they have a Curtain of Sparks face down. It is only turn 3. So we are going in for as much damage as possible. There is, of course, the chance of them finding Magnum Overlord here. But it should be pretty low. That is simply unlucky. They only had 1 piece in rotation. So it was in our favor to make the attack, for sure. But now that I am looking at it, I missed lethal. I could have used the Talismanic Seal Array and won the game. I didn't do math, so that is entirely my fault. Tornado would have been at 1,200. They had 800 left. But I'm pretty sure they did have a Curtain of Sparks or something. So it's not that big of a deal. And they would have been able to survive had they wanted to. We are second and have nothing to work with here. Setting 4 is fine, but I'm pretty sure they are going to be running Harpies based on them using an archive skill. We draw into Volcano Attack Dragon. So we can at least go for a clear. They have 2 back rows, so the Dragon's Inferno is a bit risky. I think we're not even going to bother with summoning the Twin Edge in attack or using the skill. Let's just go ahead and swing. As expected, it is a Harpy player, and they had no trap card. That is really useful information, as if they set a new one, we can always target that first. A pet dragon is a pretty rare sight, but it makes a little bit of sense on the ladder, as Harpy mirrors are relatively common. And they, of course, buff the Harpy Lady Sisters. Though I would argue putting it on the pet dragon makes more sense. You can buff above the range of Widespread Ruin. Or you get more out of Hysteric Force by buffing the Harpy's pet dragon. And the Sisters could have used its own effect to buff itself. Basically, they lost out on 200 damage there. And now we have nothing. Talismanic Seal Array is actually enough. But that's really reckless. And actually, it's not even enough because it's only going to be at 1100. We are setting our board and passing. We want to minimize the damage they deal to us, so Fire Guardian is coming out in attack mode. And they could have back row there. Obviously, if they drew into a trap card, we just lose by making this attack. But it somehow gets through. Our Sword and Shield is not a great trap for this match. But there is a chance they simply forget to buff their monster and the Fire Guardian puts in work. Or maybe they'll activate a Shield and Sword as one of their 3 set cards. But for some reason, I am doubting it. Especially at this point of the cycle. Tribute to the Doomed means Pet Dragon is swinging in essentially directly. A new set card comes down and Hysteric Force is here, buffing the Pet Dragon. And at 500, even if they swing in with this one incorrectly, they would win that combat. So we are down to just 800 life. Craybot, let's go. Activate the effect. We're doing everything we can to bring in cards. Obviously, we need the Volcano Attack Dragon, and we need to destroy that new set card in the middle of the board. Blaster's Inferno, target Volcano Attack Dragon, add Inferno to hand. Inferno destroys this one. And it was a Counter Pigeons. Actually not enough to stop our attack. We toss in a Talismanic Seal Array for additional damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Debuff the Pet Dragon. And then we could even do it again. But this is very much not a lethal push. So I guess we just battle phase and swing in. We got a pretty solid amount of damage here. But even a Harpy Lady Sisters at 2600 swinging into the Fire Guardian is a problem. Let alone a new Pet Dragon. I have a feeling we are going to be losing this game. Unless that Faith Bird goes into defense mode and we find something crazy. Left side. And another dragon. This game is super done. Unless they somehow choose terribly when sequencing the attacks. I have to Sword and Shield here. As it is lethal damage. But I still lose that battle. And then I lose the game. And the Fire Dragons are doing exactly what I expect them to. Lose relentlessly. This deck is just not as good as the other options. I will go ahead and I spent a minute on the unlock. Grab this. event duelist is here. Auto duel. And we will be right back into ranked after this next one. And he has been promptly dealt with. For those of you that don't know, the Fire Dragon list I am using recently did quite well in a tournament. Though I will say they did have buffered slime. And they do plenty of widespread ruins to seal games. We are on a 3-loss streak. So we might be doing a little bit of failing to reach King of Games tonight. And if that's the case, we will choose another deck for our next stream. We are up first. And once again, we have drawn Triad Drago basically every game. Our opponent is probably on Harpy. So we need to put out an attack mode monster. And we might as well do 2. Welcome. Account that seems suspiciously like a bot on YouTube. What does a J mean? And I don't know what that emoji is supposed to be. Sherm Sauce, if you are an actual human being, please let me know. Alright, my opponent was actually on Noodles, but this is still the right play against them as well. The odds of getting out multiple monsters capable of clearing the Guardian are relatively low. And that means we have something on board for our own turn. We have to restart the music, but we are ready to go. Let's bring in Speedy Performer. Speedy Performer would probably prefer to buff the Volcano Attack Dragon or the Twin Edge. But we don't really get that leeway here. So, Fire Guardian it is. Kraybot on board. And then Volcano Attack Dragon is coming down. We're going to play the Twin Edge, but we aren't using the effect, as Sword and Shield is an incredible card against that deck. Might as well boost the one with more attack. Battle, swing in. I didn't see a reason to grab the Spell Trap removal at this time. A Gazelle. Interesting. Unfortunately, we sequenced the attacks incorrectly, and they get to keep a Fire Yarrow on board because of it. That said, taking out our Volcano Attack Dragon should prove very difficult. Then a Gazelle is fine. Piercing damage is irrelevant here. But they are going to be able to reshuffle back in the extra spice. How many Volcano am I running? I am on a 2-3 split alongside the bonus Dragius. Alright, extra spice is going to use the effect, but it is only going to have 600. So if it attacks Volcano Attack Dragon, we are in a pretty good spot. Alright, and they have chosen to lose the game. Sword and Shield, also adding back Shield and Sword to our hand. Which I think we must have milled with one of our card effects. I do not remember activating it. Nothing really playable here. But that is fine. Twinus Dragon just needs to discard a card. And then Blaston's Inferno is going to finish this game for us. As we add Dragon's Inferno. removing their only card. That is set. Wise Bed of Moon is gone, and we have a double attacking Twin-Edged Dragon. Swing in with Fire Guardian and call it a game. Send over the Nice. I will say I haven't played Magnum Overlord in quite some time. And with the nerf to King's Majesty and the release of Buffered Slime, I probably ought to do it soon. Welcome, Red Fire. Always great to get a match in against you. Let's go ahead and see what you're running today. I see the Harpy Sleeves and Matte, but I am expecting this to be a semi-ruler. We did draw into 2 Twin Edge, which might not be a bad start. We know that the deck is revolving around effects that switch attack and defense, though. So, that set monster at least 1800 defense. 2 different tribute sets. We are in some trouble as we only have access to the Fire Guardian. What we need to do is bring in a Speedy Performer and mill a card we are able to revive off of the Phoenix Dragon. We get a Fire Guardian, which is exactly what we were aiming for. Let's go ahead, summon Phoenix Dragon, and activate its effect. Phoenix Dragon to grave, and a Fire Guardian returning. Normal summon, and might as well boost with the skill. I don't think there are any one-treat monsters with more than 2100 defense, but we will battle and find out. Swing in with our first one. Hiroshima the Hermit goes down. And so does the second one. Now, while this might seem like a good start for us, our opponent can end us with Sword and Shield. If Red Fire has it in the top third of the deck, our entire board is being reduced below 500. And by combining Power of Determination with the buff of Shield and Sword, we become in very serious danger. But it's actually semi-ruler rather than Power of Determination, which means the board is a little bit weaker here. They did manage to get in a new back row, which is definitely a little bit concerning. In addition to Shield and Sword, there is obviously the Sword and Shield as well. Also, it's completely useless when we draw it. Currybot, Speedy Performer, we are going to be buffing up the Fire Guardian. We need to be able to clear out that semi-ruler regardless of what happens. I will be activating Blaster's Inferno, boosting Volcano Attack Dragon, and adding Dragon's Inferno to remove the new set. The old set could be Sword and Shield, but we are actually able to play around that one. So the Wise Bed of Moon becomes more of an issue, which we are going to clear out with Dragon's Inferno. Unfortunately, it was a King's Majesty. And after double checking the buff, Fire Guardian is actually unable to clear out Semi-Ruler on its own. The trade may have been worth it, but I would really like to have the extra monster on board. And honestly, maybe I should have used that shield and sword as Masaki was on board. And we probably aren't going to get to see many more zero defense monsters on end boards. The semi-ruler here is interesting, as if Redfire is not running a lot of copies, they aren't going to be able to activate the skill, as you need to have a semi-ruler in the deck in order to search it out. And if they can't use Dark Arts of Positioning, then they can't actually get off the combos with their monsters. And it leaves them in a pretty awkward spot. Alright, this board is technically a clear. Oh, and Hiroshima Warrior turning off my trap. Not that I even have one. It looks like we have lucked out. Redfire has put down 2 zero defense monsters. Okay. But of course, on the turn this happens, we draw 3 spell and trap cards. I think we do need to use shield and sword. And then we will simply bring in Volcano Attack Dragon and get in for as much damage as we can. It is not lethal, but it is quite a bit. And I will take it. 2,900. Let's see what they do about this. Hermit Soul actually able to negate the attack because I made it a zero defense monster. And now we are in a little bit of trouble. Let's see how it goes. Hiroshima Warrior, preventing me from using my traps when the big guy attacks. Pretty threatening. Alright, and we see a second semi-ruler. Interesting. I'm actually pretty okay with this, though. So far, so good. Alright, and they are bringing in another beater. Discarding a Sage for... I guess we'll find out soon. And I guess we technically still don't know if they are on Power of Determination or not. But they wouldn't be able to use it in this case anyway. They battle, and they swing in with the one that I am allowed to use a trap card on. So let's go ahead and Widespread Ruin, destroying that other semi-ruler. Our monster will be destroyed, and we take 2,000. But Hiroshima the Hermit is a sitting duck with 0 attack going into my turn. Dragius could be a huge game-ending card. Unfortunately, we do not draw it. So we are going to go to a tried and true strategy. Setting 3 monsters face down. Obviously, a Kime ruler would end this game. But I don't think Red Fire is going to be running it if they are on 2 semi-rulers and all of these level 6 monsters. There is not all that much space. So I think we are fine. We have a strong board with plenty of high defense monsters. We have yet to find our Dragius, and we are drawing half of our deck on the next turn. Let's see what they do. Even if they clear all 3 of these monsters, I have Currybot, allowing me to get another monster into my hand. Alright, Red Fire goes for a tribute set. Interesting. And Hiroshima is in defense mode too. Our move, and we draw a Phoenix Dragon. Interesting. Well, maybe that's not so bad. Let's use Speed of Performer to mill as many cards as possible. Essel, show me that Dragius. And Phoenix Dragon will promptly grab it. Ditch this. Grab Dragius. Now, I do see we only have one card left in our deck. But I'm going to go ahead and make it 0 cards left in deck. After the effect of Dragius. And then Talismanic Seal Ray is going to start putting all of these cards back. What do we want to draw? Those seem like good options to me. Semi-Ruler is being debuffed as much as humanly possible. That isn't enough. We need even more cards in our grave. So we threw back 2 Volcano Attack Dragons, 2 Phoenix Dragons, and I think that should be enough for us to finish the game later. Let's go ahead and set this face down. And then enter battle. Swing in to the card that I can deal a ton of damage to. And clear out the mysterious set monster as well. And with this, we end. But I did leave an Essel in attack mode, which could be a bit of an issue. If they are indeed on Power of Determination, a 4,800 attack point Hiroshima would be incredibly threatening. But I think we might have it. We do have a trap card to protect us for a little bit. But no, they are preparing for a push. Hiroshima in attack mode. I mean, Kime Ruler 1 turn later than expected. And a Piercing Samurai for a little bit more damage. Is it going to be Shield and Sword? Is it going to be Power of Determination? Hiroshima, oh, and the Kime Ruler has Piercing. And there is the Shield and Sword. That is quite threatening. They attack into the Dragius. A lethal mistake. As now, we deal 2,500 instead of just 1,000. Had they swung into the Essel, we would have been forced to use our card to survive, and then the other Hiroshima would have ended it. They tried to defeat the boss monster, but were punished. Thank you for the game, Red Fire. And we are now against a Japanese player with an incredibly long name. We are up first. And this is not looking great. Let's Essel. We're already putting cards in the graveyard for their own Essel anyway. So we might as well try to set up our Curry Bot and Seal Array. Fire Guardian and Fire Guardian. Pass it over and hope they are unable to bring out any boss monsters. And they are immediately summoning out an Essel. And they find Dragius. That ought to be just game on its own. We only had a single monster, and they even have Dragon's Inferno. I'm pretty sure they are running Hammer Crush Deal. But they are running extra spell trap removal anyway. We survive with 600 life. But I don't know how we come back. We have a Curry Bot. Activate the effect. We are down to just 100 life. Volcano Attack Dragon. On board. Dragon's Inferno. Go for it. Destroy this. Activate skill, and we are going to bring back the Dragon's Inferno. My opponent is on spell and trap card removal, so we need to set the Inferno so that Sword and Shield is a little bit safer. Enter battle. Swing over one Dragius. And our only chance of winning is basically this. If they draw no additional boss monsters, Dragius can run into the Volcano Attack Dragon and get hit by a Sword and Shield. They will take 500 damage, and then we would survive for another turn. However, with another monster coming out, namely a Barrel Dragon, there is no hope for survival anymore. We do get our Dragius play as planned, but Barrel Dragon is here to finish the job. I will go ahead and send them a nice. Unfortunately, that was our first shot to rank up in a while. I think we might get to the next rank and call it a day, or possibly even sooner, depending on how the next few games go. Asuasu up next, and it is a Luke Mirror, but they are probably on either Aggro or Resonance or Ancient Forces or any of the decks better than this one. We open up with a clean set 5, and we're even going first. You cannot ask for very much more. I mean, we even have a set Curry Bot. Our opening hand has everything. Let's see if the Fire Dragon deck is going to be able to pull this off. Sports Dragon Pitcher coming down. A sure sign of an incoming Tribute Summon. Twinage Dragon, a potential way to attack twice. But if you're summoning a level 7 and 2 other level monsters, you probably don't want the Twin Edge turn 1, when you can instead be using cards like... Oh, wait. When you could be using cards like the Winged Dragon. Fortunately for us, they have another boss in hand. So even though the Widespread Ruin is destroyed, we are not in a bad spot necessarily. And then if we bring in Fire Guardian, and then summon a Phoenix Dragon and Triad Drago, we are going to get the rare opportunity to be able to use the effect and draw a card before immediately treating it off. 1 and 2. This is very aggressive, but we are going to Speed of Reformer and boost up Dragius. It is able to attack twice, so it's essentially an 800 attack point boost. Buff you, and then Talismanic Seal Array. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Though obviously we want to send back the Phoenix when able. We do have the Widespread Ruin in the graveyard, so we aren't going to be able to use the other Talismanic Seal Array. But we do get a huge debuff. Let's enter battle. Dragius swings in over you. Then Fire Guardian clears. And that is actually just game. Like I said, it was possibly one of the best opening hands the deck is capable of producing, assuming you are going first. Going second, it wouldn't have been anything special at all. But we managed to pick up a very fast win. And, thanks to us getting a 2-win streak beforehand, instead of the normal 3 in a row, we are being offered a chance to rank up if we can win 2 in a row, or 4 out of 5, I suppose. We get a chance to Essel here, but we don't have a great hand to capitalize on it. And there's nothing worth special summoning from our mills. Let's just bring out what we can and see if we can't clear a few monsters. Thunder Gazelle is an interesting one. The Seven's Axel Row deck does not run any Limit 3 monsters, so running Gazelle over the Fire Golem is a pretty fun choice for additional ways to deal with set boards. Fire Golem doesn't really provide a ton of value to the deck, apart from being a fire attribute and discardable with the Mystic Dealer. I think the Gazelle is a good change up in the deck's representation. Alright, they clear out the Essel, but that is all they have. And now it is our turn to bring in Fire Guardian. Let's go ahead, throw some cards face down. I would rather save the Steel Arrays for bigger turns. So we are going to swing in, and should they have a Doriado or the Valkyria, we simply will not be clearing it. Unfortunately, Doriado is here, giving them an extra resource going into this turn. I think that does allow them to potentially bring out 2 7-Sword Magicians, but you might need a 7th card for that. So you would summon 7-Sword Magician, then Tribute for Witch, and then, yeah, you wouldn't have the discard. Welcome, Terra. Hope you're having a good morning. Are you still over in Japan? Obviously, we are going to widespread here, and that should just about finish the game. as long as we don't draw into something ridiculously unplayable. Okay, we get something fairly unplayable. Inferno. Burn this card to a crisp. Blaster's Inferno, boosting up Guardian. And then Talismanic Seal Ray. Let's return 4 monsters into the deck so we can actually get over the Dark Sorcerer. Here. And then Twin Edge effect, discard Winged Dragon. Throw this down, and they concede. I'm actually not convinced we had lethal there, but we did manage to win the game and rank up. Oh, and in that case, welcome back, Terra. It must be relatively early for Europe. And we open up the Widespread Ruin, but only one normal monster could cause issues. We see a Dark Sorcerer, and they have a fair amount of back row themselves. 8 a.m. is early in my book. 7-Zone Magician, fine. 2 green pieces. And it'll be going back on top. Speedy Performer does actually give me an out to this board. Speedy Performer, buff you, then Fire Guardian is bigger than 7-Zone Magician. Activate skill, Blaster's Inferno, throw 2 face down cards, and battle. Unfortunately, they do have a Widespread Ruin, which puts us in pretty serious trouble. The 7-Zone Magician is easily able to clear out this Winged Dragon. They do have a Magical Stream as well, but they miss the Widespread Ruin of my own. So there is a chance we manage to stick around. They discarded a Light Sorcerer of Sanctity, which is really interesting. And another way that would have been able to clear out my monster. I think they have gone too deep on the drawing. But they draw into the Dark Magician Girl at the last moment, allowing them to maintain safety. And we know the final card in hand is the green Magnum Overlord piece. Our move, we draw into not much of anything at all. We're going to mill some cards, and then do our best to weaken this board. We have already hit the Widespread Ruin, but we're going to Dragon's Inferno, probably remove something like a Seal Array, or the Recital. Buffered Slime is another crazy card we need to be watching out for. Let's go ahead, battle, get in the damage we can. 4,400 should be more than enough to be alive against Magnum Overlord. Unfortunately, our trap card does not help much with a Fire Guardian on our board. At best, it'll keep our Winged Dragon alive. We know they have a green piece, so we're going to see if they discard anything else. They do not. 1,300, that is fine. And a normal Light Sorcerer, followed by Dark. And the Valkyria, unfortunately, if they sequence this correctly, but they do not. We are going to be able to get in for a ton of damage with Sword and Shield. And we're even adding Shield and Sword to get over this Light Sorcerer on their turn. We do still lose the Winged Dragon to the Light Sorcerer, but that is fine with me. For sure. As long as we're able to draw into something like Dragius, yeah, exactly as planned. Okay. Shield and Sword. Normal summon. Normal summon. Normal summon. Activate effect. Buff you. Activate effect. And buff again. Then tribute these two off. Dragius comes in. And as long as it's not the sword and shield exactly, we are in a very good spot. Oh, but we know they're running recital. Maybe I shouldn't have done it this way. Fortunately, it works out just fine. And we get the KO. Sending them over a nice. Tara says we need better back row. I do think they have been working on it. Nowadays, a lot of decks are running Widespread, Buffered Slime, and Sword and Shield. And I think 3 is a pretty healthy amount. There are even things like the Royal Rebel deck, which have started running upwards of 6 trap cards. So, I think, realistically, there are still some trap cards I would want to see. For example, Counter Shield would be great for all of these decks based around normal monsters. Additionally, One Up is a card that the NPCs have had since the start of the game, and that was in KP01. I think One Up would be a very fair and balanced card to add into the game. And I'm kind of surprised it isn't here yet. Especially given that Beetle was one of those release decks that quickly fell off once new sets were added. Unfortunately, we're fighting Harpies. We only drew one summonable monster. So this will be a pretty swift game unless something crazy happens. Essel does not help us. But we will mill. Notably, Triadrago is never live, as Harpies are only level 5. We summon Dragius. The Winged Dragon can get us in for a little bit of extra damage, thanks to Talismanic Seal Array, which is going to put back that Phoenix Dragon for sure. Possible advantage, we will take it. Put the Triad back in. Debuff Harpy Lady Sisters down to 1100. Battle phase, clear the one monster we can. Swing in and swing in. Notably, another middle piece is representing a lot of damage. Combined with a Talismanic Seal Array, the game would be over. But there is always the chance they brick. But, okay, even if they don't get the middle piece, any monster plus the 1500s is 100, 200. That would only be 1700. Interesting. Looks like they might be setting up for a dragon, though. Speed of Performer, another one that gets a pretty dangerous boost. And that should be game. They are able to clear Dragius. They are able to clear out the Winged Dragon. And they have one more monster on top of it. Frank says, would love to see Counter Bomb. I'm going to assume that is the burn one. But I actually don't know. I'll go look it up while we queue for the next game. Yeah, the skills do make cards like the Barrier and Curtain of Sparks a little bit weaker. But I don't think we'd really be running those in the Physical Rush game either. Right, Counter Cannonball is the burn one. But it's probably the one that Frank is talking about. I actually really like all of the searching skills. Obviously, that is one of the things I was looking forward to in Duel Links, specifically for the legend cards. Cards like Dark Magician are silly in early rush duels because you are building your entire deck around this unsearchable one-of. And you're putting in cards like Thousand Knives or Dark Magic Attack that need you to have the Dark Magician. But you're not going to draw Dark Magician with your 40-card deck in most of your games, making it feel really not great. Duel Links with Magician Shuffle allows you to actually play with the legend cards reasonably. And I really appreciate that. So we're gonna just blow up some Cyberse monster and then get blown up on the next turn. Once again, we have only drawn a single low level. How many are we running? 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18. That is a normal amount. But unfortunately, we only got the one. And they even managed to find the turn 3 Yggdrago. My spell and trap cards are completely useless here. And not only that, I am not able to activate a Talismanic Seal Array should I draw one. That is game. Welcome, Penguin. Yeah, I actually don't... Well, yeah, that was a band-aid on a problem that doesn't need to exist in Duel Links. So, yeah, like Tara says, all of the legend cards at this time just have name changers. But that has another problem. Dark Magician decks have stopped running Dark Magician. Because you can just run some other thing instead. And it is not only Dark Magician, but it probably comes with an effect that can either boost its attack, or summon itself, or do all of these other things. So the support around a specific legend card either needs to make it, like, super specific, and then it's not going to work because you need to find the one of, or it works with all of the name changer cards, which then means you don't have to use the legend. We see Overload coming down. We do open with a Dragius, but we are kind of fricking on the Volcano attack. A Currybot is fine with me. We could actually get in for 4 attacks if we use the Twin Edge Dragon, but that is a little bit reckless. I don't think we need to do that. And I want to keep the Dragon's Inferno Searcher in hand. Let's just clear the board. If we run into a Doriado, we aren't going to be able to do that either way. But I mean, we should have pretty good odds, especially if we just cleared one of them. Light Sorcerer goes down. Which is here. which is actually a bit of a rare card to be running in Magnum Overlord. But they are running multiple copies, presumably over cards like Dark Magician Girl. In this case, though, it is definitely working out for them. They have red and blue in the graveyard. Red was the one that was previously revealed to us. And they cycle it back again. So do they already have a blue in hand? I don't know. But we did draw a Currybot, which is a pretty good start as it is alive. This is going to get us to Volcano Attack Dragon. However, we are going to need to use our Talismanic Seal Array to debuff the 7-Zone Magician. I'm not going to search out the spell trap removal as it might be useful on a later turn. We do have a rare chance to draw here, and it shouldn't really be threatening a lethal on us. So I'll go for it. Seal Array, put back. Currybot, Fire Guardian, everything but a Currybot and the Dragius. We could put Dragius back into the deck, but we have 2 Phoenixes. So it's actually more likely we draw into a Dragius if we keep it in a grave. After that, we can battle. Swing over this. Winged Dragon gets over this. And I mean, I guess we are probably going to lose if they draw the maximum. The Tri-Drago in attack mode, maybe not always the best play. Or very rarely. But it would have been pretty cool if we got something good off of it. Alright, the Tri-Drago is at 0. Can they turn this into a kill? 2 back row. And very interesting. We managed to keep Volcano Attack Dragon on board. And if we manage to draw into Dragon's Inferno, we can destroy both back row. Unfortunately, that is not the case. But we are able to at least search out the card, destroy 1, and bring in Fire Guardian. But before we do that, we're activating Phoenix Dragon and discarding this Twin Edge, as we want to add in the one and only Multi-Strike Dragon Dragius. And with a 3-boss board, the only card in the game that stops this lethal push